Welcome to another edition of Metaphysics of WW2. Here we discuss issues and topics relating to metaphysics, astrology, and astrotheology. With a basic understanding of this hidden knowledge, more light can be shed on this dark period of human history. To understand the size and scope of this conflict, one needs to analyze it from a metaphysical perspective, using astrology, the language of the gods, a language which mythology tells us was given to humanity by the Titan god Atlas. For a clearer perspective behind the reasons for World War II, a basic understanding of astrology and ancient zodiacal signs, symbols, and planets must first be understood. There is a constant in the universe and within our solar system, that of perpetual cycles of endless poetical planetary orbits interacting in a profound kaleidoscope of energetic forces and frequencies, playing off against each other like sparring partners or romantic lovers. These cycles have been known about for thousands of years, transits and angles interacting with the human biology, influencing our perception of reality as they draw us through a symphony of cosmic ages and subcycles. When analyzing the individual astrological planetary glyphs, we find they are essentially made up of various combinations from three basic components, reflecting human consciousness within the soul, the spirit, and the physical. Understanding the difference between the spirit and soul is part of that puzzle. The soul is concerned with the physical realm. It is essentially the energy behind our focal conscious connection to the Logos, whereas the spirit is the subconscious connection to those higher realms of universal potential. As the sun is the energy source behind our focal consciousness, we use the sun glyph, the circle, to represent the soul. The Latin word for the sun is soul, and that which connects Adam to the physical earth are the soles of his feet. When the sun goes down, we become tired, losing the energetic connection to our focal awareness. We therefore drift towards the world of sleep, onto the fringes of the spiritual realm within the subconscious. When the sun comes up in the morning, we awaken. The sun's energy brings us out of the subconscious and back into focal conscious awareness. The spirit has always been associated with the moon, water, and the feminine aspects of internal emotion. Consequently, with these symbols combined in various ways, we can express planetary energies to appreciate how they interact and influence our biology together with our conscious perception of reality. When looking at the planetary glyphs in this manner, one can appreciate the fundamental characteristics and nature of the planet's energetic influence. It becomes easy to see how Jupiter resonates a powerful frequency of spirit over physical matter, whereas Saturn is the opposite, with physical matter dominating over the spirit. Due to the nature of Jupiter and Saturn, these planets will always oppose one another in a perpetual conflict, stretching the fabric of time and space. Like sparring partners, they battle it out, seeking to draw us into their particular tapestry of unique energetic frequencies. These opposing energies are reflected in the glyphs used to symbolize these two planets. Jupiter is the crescent of the spiritual subconscious over the cross of the physical, whereas Saturn is the opposite, the cross over the crescent. Both planets have the potential to influence us in totally opposing ways. To appreciate this, we first need to understand the mechanisms behind how our thoughts and speech interact with our perception of reality. There is an old saying, "You reap what you sow." The point is this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. The zodiac holds many synchronized secrets, a perfect poetical reflection of how universal consciousness manifests within this physical plane, interacting through our five senses and the subconscious. First comes the thought in the mind, the head, ruled by Aries, I am. God said to Moses, "I am who I am." This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Buddha. From Aries, I am, we move to Taurus, the throat. This is where thoughts are turned into words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Lord merely spoke, and the heavens were created. He breathed the word, and all the stars were born. As we are made in the image of the gods, and to their likeness, we too have the ability to shape our own reality, bringing to us the harvest of what we sow. From a combination of thoughts and words, we reap the fruits which grow in our subconscious gardens. From the thought comes the word, and from the word comes the act. This leads to habit, which forms character and destiny. If one's thoughts are full of Jupiterian optimism, then one's words will reflect this. Jupiter is also a planet associated with the present and future, as opposed to Saturn, which is preoccupied with the past. Jupiter's disposition of optimism can manifest the energetic frequencies associated with abundance, goodwill, and good fortune, essentially fulfilling many of the teachings of Jupiter's greatest ambassador, Jesus Christ. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. According to Genesis 1, God created the world in 7 days. This whole concept is interesting in a variety of ways. but mainly because the number 7 appears all over creation and the natural world. We have 7 days of the week, 7 planets in the ancient zodiac, 7 notes in an octave, 7 colors of the rainbow, and 7 chakras in the human body. If we take the planets as the common denominator in the order they appear in our weekly cycle, we begin to see a pattern form. Sun on Sunday, Moon on Monday, Mars for Tuesday, Mercury on Wednesday, Jupiter on Thursday, Venus on Friday, and Saturn on Saturday. The order in which the planets are represented here is an ancient one. The days of the week in English reflect that order, but this is not unique. It can be found all over the world in a variety of languages and cultures. People who supposedly evolved independently of one another, expressing the same 7 planets in the same order. These origins must have come from way back in our ancient history, from our ancestors, a race of people with a comprehensive understanding of the planets and the zodiac. I suspect that the Elohim mentioned in the Bible, being a plural, is referring to the planets and luminaries in our solar system. What we see visually of the planets is only their physical manifestation, just like all parts of the macrocosm down to the microcosm. They possess a spiritual and soul aspect to their combined consciousness. Our ancient history talks about wars between the gods, battling it out for pole position. This could easily represent the planets as they move in transitory cycles, ascending and descending priority around the zodiac as they influence our biological receptivity towards cosmic stimuli. Today's main monotheistic religions have chosen one planet above all the rest, promoting it as the center of their ideology and worship. Judaism with Saturn, Christianity with Jupiter, Islam with Venus, and Buddhism with Mercury. The most obvious reference to this is the day some religions choose as their important holy day. Judaism on Saturday, Islam on Friday, and Christianity on Sunday or Holy Thursday. The numbers associated with these holy days also play a significant role. For example, 6 with Judaism, 5 with Islam, 4 with Christianity, and 3 with Buddhism. Although they promote one planet above the rest, the other planets are not entirely neglected, but become subordinate to the main chosen planet of focus. Saturn has for many years been depicted as a black cube and synonymous with the number 6. An astronomical explanation for this came about in 1981, when the Voyager spacecraft sent back photographs of Saturn's bizarre hexagonal-shaped weather pattern at its north pole. For our ancestors to know about this is another mystery, or just another inconvenient anomaly, suggesting they had advanced knowledge of the stars and planets. The most important holy day of the week for the Jewish faith is Saturday, Saturn's Day. The Mishnah is the first major written account of the Jewish oral tradition. sometimes referred to as the Oral Torah. It consists of 6 orders, each containing 7 to 12 tractates. The number 6 is found in many of their myths, writings and legends. The 6-Day War in the 1960s, Exodus, 600,000 men. Israel has 6 letters. Noah was 600 years old when the floods of the waters fell onto the earth. 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Siege of Jerusalem in 1099. 60,000 people were massacred, 6,000 Jews. Exodus 5. And he took 600 chosen chariots. Exodus 6. And it shall come to pass on the 6th day that thou shalt prepare that which thou bring in. Exodus 7. 6 days shall thou labour and do all thy work. Exodus 8. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve. Exodus 9. And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and gather in the increase thereof. By concentrating the focal mind on a single planet, promoting it above all the rest, a person's conscious perspective of reality can become limited, submerged within the energetic characteristics of that planet alone. They consequently miss out on a balanced spectrum of energies offered by all the planets within our solar system. It is like being brought up by a one-parent family. Your subconscious programming and beliefs will predominantly reflect the characteristics of the planet you are worshipping. Because Judaism has chosen Saturn as their planet of influence, serious, devout Jews will benefit from the planet's positive aspects of control, organization, tradition, self-discipline, and hard work. However, they will also be influenced by its negative traits, such as restriction, pessimism, distance, frustration, and seriousness. These Saturnian characteristics will eventually manifest in the physical realm and everyday lives of the Jews as a collective. It is therefore understandable to see Judaism expressing itself as the smallest of all the religions, with Christian Jupiter worship, the planet of abundance, optimism, and good fortune, becoming the largest and most expansive religion on earth. It is also no surprise to see many Jews excel in the modern world of materialism, in a society where the cross over the crescent is gradually overtaking the crescent over the cross. The natural Saturnian skills of control, order, organization, and structure will give any group already aligned with Saturn the upper hand in this modern materialistic world. Being only a small percentage of the overall population, Jews have done remarkably well to position themselves in large numbers at the very top end of society, in influential positions of power within important institutions, structures, and organizations of control. But if you understand the true nature of reality, the law of attraction, and how planetary energetic vibrations influence our biology and the way we perceive the world around us, this should come as no surprise. In traditional Judaism, the practice of wearing the tefillin is observed during weekday morning prayers. 2 black leather cubes containing scrolls of the Torah are joined by leather straps. 1 cube is placed over the third eye, and the other is placed on the subordinate arm, with the straps wrapped around the arm like Saturn's rings. They go all the way down to the left hand and around the Saturn finger. This whole practice is a physical, symbolic ceremony aligning oneself with the energetic frequencies of the planet Saturn, along with many of its characteristics. It is also a common practice for Jewish worshippers to rock backwards and forwards at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. The wall is made from stone, the domain of Saturn. Rocking is a pseudo-sexual act, thrusting the base chakra forward. This is also Saturnian in nature. The worshippers write notes, which are placed within the cracks of the Western Wall's stone structure. These are prayer offerings of intent to their chosen God. The wall faces west, opposite to most religions who prefer the energies associated with the sun rising in the east. The west is where the sun sets and gives way to the underworld ruled by Saturn. According to Ignatius Donnelly, in his book, The Antediluvian World, he states that the Romans referred to the Atlantic Ocean as the Cronium Mare, or the Sea of Kronos, Saturn, with the Pillars of Heracles being referred to as the Pillars of Kronos. This could in some way explain why Jews prefer the west wall when they pray, a wall facing towards the Sea of Saturn, where the gods of Atlantis sank into the ocean, falling into the underworld. It also makes sense when the old Cairo meridian is used, which places Capricorn and Aquarius over the Atlantic Ocean. The Christians are people associated with Jupiter, the planet ruling Pisces, throughout the 2,150-year epoch of the 2 fish, aligning their whole belief system with the energetic characteristics of this enormous planetary body. Using the law of attraction, the Christians resonate with Jupiter, bringing forth and emphasizing its potential. Jupiter is the 5th planet from the Sun, the biggest planet in our solar system, 1/10 the diameter of the Sun and 11 times the diameter of the Earth. A gas giant comprising mainly of hydrogen and helium. Jupiter takes approximately 12 earthly years to perform a full orbit of the Sun. This means Jupiter will stay in each zodiac house for approximately 1 year before moving into the next. The planet has a red spot, a giant storm the size of the Earth, which has been observed as far back as the 17th century. Jupiter is not alone. It is accompanied by 67 moons. The biggest, Ganymede, has a diameter greater than Mercury. One of its moons is called Europa, which mainly consists of an ice-covered liquid ocean. Jupiter's astrological characteristics are a reflection of its size and physical nature. It is the king of the gods, the planet of plenty. It is tolerant and expansive. Its attributes include good luck, bounty, optimism and growth. It comes with morality, gratitude, hope and honor. Jupiter can guide you to a sense of purpose and high ideals. Some of its pathways towards fulfillment come through learning, travel, challenges and philosophy. The planet's energy also has a negative side due to its size, which can lead to blind optimism, excess and overindulgence. Jupiter was the chief deity of the Roman state religion, along with his wife Juno. Jupiter was also known as Jove, Lupiter, Lovis, Diespita, and Zeus in Greek. When humanity entered the age of Pisces, Jupiter, the ruling planet, became the new focus of spiritual energy emanating from the cosmos. It would naturally dominate during this epoch of 2150 years. The Romans understood how this all worked, hence why Jupiter became their chief deity, offered up by the ruling classes as the new state religion. The vice for this huge planet is gluttony. A recent study in the Journal of Religion and Health found that Christians are more likely to have a larger body mass index than atheists and other religious groups. Evidence of this association was strongest amongst those affiliated to the Christian religion. Dr. Deborah Lysett, a senior lecturer in dietetics at Coventry University. Aligning one's community or nation with the expansive energy of Jupiter will in time manifest these traits in their reality, contributing to the Christians' expansive domination around the world. Roman Catholicism became one of the wealthiest institutions on earth, and the Christian faith expanded to nearly every nook and cranny on the planet. Although Christians are associated with Jupiter, they are also aligned with the sun and the moon in a triad, Father, Son and Holy Spirit, choosing the day of the sun to focus on their faith. Thursday, Jupiter's day, is not entirely neglected. Holy Thursday is one of the most important and profound days in the Catholic religion. During the Last Supper, Jupiter Zeus, Jewsus, offered himself as the sacrificial lamb. He bid farewell to his followers before prophesying of his betrayal. All around the world, bishops and priests celebrate what is known as the institution of the priesthood, Holy Thursday. A Mass is held where a bishop washes the feet of 12 priests. The feet are associated with the zodiac house of Pisces. There are 12 priests, one for each house. This is a symbolic reconstruction of the moment when Christ washes the feet of the 12 apostles. The cross can also represent a four-pointed star, the day of Jupiter. There is no greater example of Jupiter's expansive gluttony expressed in the physical realm than the Christian festival known as Thanksgiving. And it is no surprise to see this festival celebrated on the fourth Thursday in November, a time period within the zodiac ruled by Jupiter in the sign of Sagittarius. Muslims align themselves with Venus the planet synonymous with the number 5. They pray 5 times a day and adhere to the 5 pillars of Islam. Their holy day is Friday, Venus Day. On top of some mosques, you will see a crescent moon and a 5-pointed star. Their first pre-dawn prayer meeting, known as the Fajr, takes place when Venus appears on the horizon at Mecca. Although Islam places Venus at the top of their religion, Saturn's order and controlling energy is also utilized. The Kaaba at Mecca is a huge black cube representing Saturn. Pilgrims walk around the Kaaba anti-clockwise, simulating the rings of Saturn as a physical gesture, aligning themselves with Saturnian energy. Buddhism emerged from Hinduism. It is a non-theistic religion philosophy. The word Buddha, with 1 D, is Sanskrit for the planet Mercury. It is the planet of intellect and communication. However, this Buddha is not to be confused with Gautama Buddha, who was a sage, someone who has attained wisdom. He is the awakened one or enlightened one. Gautama Buddha was a man born into a wealthy family. His father was elected chief of the Shakya clan and expected Gautama to follow in his footsteps. When he was 29 years old, he left the palace on a lifelong journey of understanding and enlightenment. In Buddhism, there is no creator and no supreme God. The only way to salvation is through your own spiritual improvement. The Buddha teaches you to question everything, including the Buddha. Through Buddha's teachings, known as Dharma, he will show the way or path. It is up to the individual to decide their own route to nirvana. Buddhists also believe in reincarnation, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Mercury is the smallest and closest planet to the Sun with an 88-day orbit. Looking at Buddhism from an astrological perspective, we find correlations between Mercury, Wednesday, and the number 3 throughout its traditions and practices. The number 3 is a common occurrence in Buddhism. The 3 precious jewels, Buddha, the teacher, Dharma, the teachings, and Sangha, the community. The 3 poisons, ignorance, attachment, and aversion. The 3 baskets of the Pali Canon. The 3 aspects of the Eightfold Path, morality, meditation, and wisdom. At the Buddhist temple, when bowing, one makes 3 prostrations with 3 sticks of incense. When making a ceremonial procession around the temple or tomb, it is done 3 times. Buddhist monks or monks are instantly recognizable in their orange robes and shaved heads. One explanation for their appearance can be deduced from their role as moon watchers. Like all monks, they are responsible for observing the cycles of the moon. They shave their heads to symbolize the moon, and their orange robes represent the color of the sky during sunset, a time when the moon slowly becomes the dominant luminary in the sky. Unlike other religions, the Buddhists don't focus on an artificially created holy day of the week. Instead, they base their holy days on the 4 main phases of the moon, the full moon, new moon, and half moons, harmonizing their spiritual connection to nature. The moon days in the Theravadan calendar of Thailand are called Wan Pra, monk days. All monks are expected to stay in the temple on these holy days. Wan Fourth is Thai for Wednesday, and Phut is another word sometimes used for Buddha. Mercury rules over two signs of the zodiac, Gemini and Virgo. The energetic mottos for these two signs are I think and I examine, a perfect reflection of the philosophical approach of the Buddhist. Bangkok, the capital of Thailand, is at the heart of this Buddhist nation. The etymology of the name Bangkok is uncertain, although Bang is Thai for a village situated on a stream. Kok could be derived from the Hebrew word kokhav, which means the planet Mercury. From our physical perspective, many religious philosophies teach us that the path to enlightenment is to train our focal consciousness to be in the now. This truly is the secret of how to live in harmony with nature and various levels of consciousness. To focus one's conscious perspective on the now is to live, and to fulfill our life's purpose according to the Creator, whatever you perceive him to be. The word live backwards is evil. It is to fail in one's attempt at living in the now by not living today, but dwelling on the past. The past tense of live is lived, which is the devil backwards. The past is the domain of Saturn, the planet of pessimism, restriction, order, and control. The devil was known as Diabolos in ancient Greek, a name derived from two words, divide and abolish. With a mindset and disposition in tune with Saturn's pessimistic obsession with the past, one can see how an individual can create a very bleak future for themselves. Saturn is the accuser, divisive accusations which abolish the individual's ability to live in the now, preventing them from embracing abundance and all the good fortunes associated with the energies of Jupiter and the teachings of Jesus Christ. But I am afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the serpent's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man. We know that we are children of God, and that the whole world is under the control of the evil one. A Saturnian disposition of self-doubt and self-accusation can suck an individual down into a bottomless spiral of unresolved depression, being trapped by spontaneous reflections of past events, blame and division. This is hell, burning inside under Saturn's suffocating energy of self-inflicted criticism, lacking Jupiterian optimism. Eve was seduced by the serpent in the garden to set the seed of doubt in her mind, a mental process pulling her away from the jovial harmony of living in the now. Like children, they were innocent until Diabolos came along. From the voice box or Adam's apple, the thought became the word, and the word cast a spell, setting in motion the energetic frequency behind the word. This is how we influence our reality and our future. Our thoughts and words are tremendously important, and in order to achieve mastery over one's life, the individual must first have mastery over their thoughts and the things which come out of their mouths. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth. This defiles a person. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. From aligning one's thoughts, words and actions to various planets, one can draw specific energetic vibrations towards them, fulfilling the law of attraction, essentially amplifying the deeds of the focal conscious mind by sowing seeds within the subconscious, the part of the mind which forgets nothing, and our connection to the spirit realm. Just as Christians adopted Jupiter as the benchmark for their religious philosophy, Judaism chose Saturn to align with theirs. This Saturnine religion has certainly stood the test of time, being a restrictive, controlling practice which is deeply seated in the past. When we try to express the personality of Jupiter and Saturn from the symphony of energetic frequencies resonating from their centers, we can only try to reflect this using today's language, which only gives a basic flavor and overview of their overall characteristics. Maybe this is one reason why our ancestors tried to portray these energies through various myths and legends. Love resonates at a higher frequency than that of disaffection and hate, and as can be seen by the Doppler shift, higher frequencies within the ultraviolet range are witnessed when two bodies are moving together and attracted to one another. But when they are moving away in an act of division, abolishing their attraction, the lower frequencies of infrared become dominant. Coincidentally, Jupiter has a higher resonant frequency than Saturn. Satan, Diabolo, and the devil are usually depicted in red, symbolizing the lower frequencies of disunity and separation. Old Father Time and the Grim Reaper are all expressions of Saturn's energy, with the latter grimly reaping those Saturnian seeds which have been sown via thoughts and words into the subconscious and out into one's reality or chosen path. The Roman festival in December, known as Saturnalia, is the predecessor of our modern-day Christmas, where we see Santa Claus, an anagram of Satan, coming down a chimney during the night. Chimneys are black sooty places where fire and smoke dwell. Modern-day Christmas has become a vulgar display of excessive Saturnian materialism, with Santa, Satan, at the helm, perverting the spiritual Jupiterian aspect of the season. The whole concept of modern Santa Satan has been carefully designed to target small children in order to subtly socially engineer a belief system in their fragile subconscious minds, which equates the Christmas period with spending enormous sums of money on unnecessary material goods. This has been promoted by organized multinational corporations to boost sales and seduce the masses into debt slavery underpinned by usury. Traditionally, Santa would leave gifts for good children in their shoe or sock. The feet are the domain of Pisces. Bad children would be given a piece of coal as a deterrent for their bad behavior. Saturn has natural rulership over rocks, stones, and much of what lies under the ground. Coal is a rock which closely resembles a black cube. While Christianity has associated itself with Jupiter through their chosen Messiah, Jesus Christ, Judaism adopted Saturn as its chosen planetary influence. This can be validated by observing the traditions, myths, and practices of Orthodox Jews. Many of Saturn's attributes and characteristics are visible in the lives of these people. Unlike Christianity, the growth of Judaism has been very restrictive over the past 2,000 years. Being the smallest of the main religions, with only 0.2% of the world's population, they have kept their traditional style of clothing along with its strict guidelines. Black has always been used to symbolize the planet Saturn, along with the shape of a cube. They are taught to be disciplined and work hard at their faith, promoting a sense of tradition which has withstood the test of time unchanged throughout the centuries. Jews cannot enter into public ministry until they reach the age of 30, just enough time for Saturn to make one full orbit around the sun. Their kosher food practice and preparation can be frustrating and restrictive from an outsider's perspective. Control, discipline, authority, rules, and structure are all necessary for the smooth running of the modern control system, which we all now live under. It is therefore no coincidence that any group of people already aligned with these Saturnian qualities should naturally gravitate to influential positions within society's authoritarian and governing structures. Although Jews only make up a small proportion of the world's population, they have a disproportionately high number of people occupying top positions of influence within important organizations. But this is exactly what you would expect from a religious philosophy aligning itself with Saturn's physical over the spiritual materialistic mechanisms of control and discipline. Jesus was born into a Jewish culture. His mother was Jewish, and he lived in a predominantly Jewish area. He worshipped in Jewish temples and preached from Jewish scripts. He was a Jew who was at the forefront of the new age of Pisces, teaching the world about the optimistic energies associated with Jupiter Zeus. He transformed himself from a Saturnian Jew into a Jupiterian Christian, essentially going from Jew to Zeus. Hence the name Jewsus. The story of Jewsus is an astrological one. The age of Aries, the ram, ruled by Mars, was coming to an end, and the significant characters of that age, like Moses, Marses, Tutmoses, and Ramesses, needed a replacement, someone to reflect the new age of Pisces, while shaking off the association with Mars and Rams, all synonymous with Aries and Mars. The new Messiah had to represent the optimistic goodwill aspects of Pisces and Jupiter throughout the age of belief and the two fish. Jewsus became the chosen figurehead who would represent this. Jewish leaders, aware they had to wait another 2,150 years for their Messiah, Saturn, to take precedence and rule the heavens in the age of Aquarius, did not see Jewsus as their Messiah or King of the Jews. To them, he was just another rebellious false claimant. They did not want the optimistic, expansive energy of Jupiter interfering with their restrictive, controlling Saturnian traditions. At the age of 30, after Saturn had completed one full orbit around the Sun, Jewsus began his ministry. Jewish elders were not happy to see this self-styled preacher of optimism traveling around teaching this new philosophy based on Piscean goodwill, belief, and abundance. It was contrary to all their traditional teachings of Saturn's restrictive control. In a perfect reflection of this divisive energy, the Jews started the process of accusation. Jewsus was put on trial before the Sanhedrin, where Jewish leaders questioned him and deliberated before finding him guilty of blasphemy, after which they wanted him dead. The punishment for blasphemy by a Jewish trial was to be stoned to death, and as Saturn is the ruler over rocks and stones, this was a fitting punishment for any culture associating and aligning themselves with Saturnian energies. However, the Jewish elders wanted to see Jewsus crucified, a Roman punishment reserved only for their worst and most dangerous criminals. Jewsus was sent to Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea, where he was questioned about the accusations made about him by Jewish elders. Jewsus did not speak much in defense of the accusations, but what he did say reflects the glyph and fundamental metaphysical construct of Jupiter, the crescent of spirituality over the cross of the physical. Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place." It was customary during the Passover to allow the crowd to release a prisoner of their choice. When Pilate offered them the option of freeing Jewsus, who symbolized the truth and the light, or Barabbas, a notorious bandit murderer, symbolizing the worst aspects of Saturnian pessimism, restrictions, and opposition to truth and light, the crowd chose to free Barabbas, a reflection of how society, when given the choice, can instinctively lead towards the bad things which society can offer, as opposed to truth, light, and wisdom. When Pilate asked the crowd, who had been stirred up by the leading Jewish priests, what should be done with Jewsus, they cried out, "Crucify him." Jupiter is king of the planets, but its domain has greater scope within the spiritual realm as opposed to Saturn, which rules the physical material world. Hence why the Jews, Saturn worshippers, had to be the ones who initiated the end of the physical Jewsus. It is part of the ongoing battle between two opposing energies. It is important to point out the houses associated with both Jupiter and Saturn when trying to piece together the astrological forces at play concerning the modern world. Jupiter rules both Pisces and Sagittarius, the signs of I believe and I seek, the 9th house of travel, higher learning, religion and philosophy, and the 12th house of karma and the subconscious. Saturn, on the other hand, rules Capricorn, I use, and Aquarius, I know, the 10th house of career, and the 11th house of groups and friends. This is important when trying to understand the difference between Jupiterian Christianity and Saturnian Judaism. Christianity has always been associated with seeking philosophical answers, higher learning, belief, and spiritual wisdom, while Judaism has been associated with Capricorn's I use, usury, career, business, and hard work. They are also synonymous with Aquarian groups and friends, i.e. Friends of Israel. It is also important to point out that Saturn is ruler over the material realm as opposed to Jupiter or Jewsus ruling the spiritual realm. Satan, who is the god of this world, has blinded the minds of those who don't believe. They are unable to see the glorious light of the good news. They don't understand this message about the glory of Christ, who is the exact likeness of God. As we move further away from the age of Pisces, materialism will take over from the crescent of spirituality, leaving the cross of the physical realm taking precedence. Saturn will take over from Jupiter, and we will no doubt see the Messiah of the old age being replaced by a new one, an individual who represents the characteristics of Aquarius, the water bearer. These cosmic energy changes, which have already begun, could be responsible for the rise of the Vatican II, the recent abdication of the Pope, and the speculation of the last and final pope to occupy the throne of Peter. It will also become clear that Jesus, the personification of Jupiter Zeus, will only be with us till the end of the Piscean age. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. The new age of Aquarius is the age of knowing. Traditional astrologers considered the whole age, all 2,150 years, to belong to Saturn. But recent astrologers, since the rediscovery of Uranus, have placed the father of Saturn as the ruler for the first 1,000 years of this epoch. This makes for a very interesting contrast of planetary energies influencing humanity. While the controlling elite, predominantly aligned with Saturn, are expanding their restrictive Saturnian control grid, Uranus, the planet of rebellion, revolution, and unpredictability, will be pouring out cosmic frequencies over human consciousness, together with its energetic vibrations of freedom, new technology, and a need to break with tradition. This will certainly lead to interesting times. The Saturnian control system, which comprises of anyone who has a vested interest in Saturn, and those aligned with Saturn's energies, include people with strong natural Saturnian karmic dispositions, practicing traditional Judaism, Saturn-worshipping cults and Satanists, organizations of control, corporations, or rigid organized institutions, traditional structures of control within the establishment. All these players will work together using all the latest technology, tightening the straps on humanity's straitjacket, preventing any outbreak of Uranus energy from threatening the stranglehold of the globalization, Saturnization project. If we look at Matthew 3:2, John the Baptist talks about a new kingdom at hand. If we use the Greek translation for heaven, Ouranos, the whole verse takes on a new meaning when considering Uranus as the new ruler for the first half of the Aquarian age. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven, Ouranos, is at hand. Matthew 3:2. There is much speculation about the Antichrist and when he is likely to make an appearance, with many people believing that he will manifest in physical form as a sheep in wolf's clothing. For every new political leader, there are many deluded minds conditioned into believing that their new president, minister, or chancellor is the long-awaited one, who will use their special powers to steer humanity on a collision course with Hades. From an astrological perspective, there is a substitute Christ in the form of Uranus and an Antichrist in the form of Saturn. Uranus is similar to Jupiter, opposing Saturn in many ways. However, while Saturn is traditional and preoccupied with the past, Uranus energy is anti-traditional, revolutionary, and forward-looking. Some of Uranus's characteristics include rebellious, revolutionary, out of the blue, forward-looking, breaking with tradition, individuality, new technology, progressive, novelty, enlightenment, irresponsible, intuitive, freedom and independence, new ideas and new ways of living. As can be seen, the energetic characteristics of Uranus are very much opposed to Saturn's sturdy, restrictive pessimism, and because of this, many believe the rulership of Uranus could be regarded as the second coming of Christ, as Saturn is most certainly the Antichrist, with all the opposing qualifications necessary. The antidote to this Antichrist could very well be Uranus as a second coming, in a new but different form of optimism and freedom. However, the real second coming of Jupiter will eventually return as ruler over the age of Sagittarius, but this will not happen for another 4,300 years. The first half of the Aquarian age is heavily influenced by Uranus, approximately 1,000 years before Saturn resumes total dominance for the remainder of that age. Saturn will also rule the following age of Capricorn. Consequently, any group naturally aligned with the energetic characteristics of Saturn will play a leading role. As we saw Jesus become the ambassador for the age of Pisces, ruled by Jupiter, the planet of optimism, abundance, and good fortune, Adolf Hitler was considered by some as the new Messiah for the 1,000-year German Reich, reflecting many of Uranus's characteristics. One of the Nazis' top generals, Karl Wolff, was reflecting on his many conversations with Heinrich Himmler. He noted his theory that Himmler was trying to keep most of the evil deeds away from the knowledge of the Führer. Deeply involved in the occult, Himmler saw Hitler as the new Messiah. Based on conversations the Führer had in general with the Reichsführer, he had decided to relieve the burdens from the shoulders of the new Messiah, Adolf Hitler. The Führer was to remain free from sin. Joachim von Lang, top Nazi general, Karl Wolff. During his 12 years of power, astoundingly, he managed to trade places with Christ, convincing mainstream followers and his inner circle, for example, Nazi propagandist Joseph Goebbels and SS leader Heinrich Himmler, that it was he who was their Messiah. Hitler was their saviour, who promised to renew the myth of the Holy Empire, a Reich which would last 1,000 years, the Nazi Church. Many Germans found a Messiah in the person of Hitler to lead them into the 1,000-year reign, and it wasn't Jesus Christ. With Hitler as their surrogate Messiah, the ideology of the Third Reich evolved into a national theology. The gospel of this new Nazi church demonized the Jews and other minorities in the name of God, which guaranteed kingdom come of the Third Reich. Hitler was a strong believer in fate and providence, and as a result of his knowledge of astrology and occult matters, his timing could be astrologically justified if one is looking for an ambassador for the new age of Aquarius, and someone aligning their philosophy with Uranus's characteristics. Although it is difficult to correlate the exact dates to the zodiac, the Germans knew the Piscean age was coming to a close, and preparations were necessary for the acquisition of power as the transition into Aquarius commenced. They also knew that Uranus, the planet of revolution, new technology, and out of the blue events shared rulership with Saturn, and Saturn was the planet of Judaism. It was essentially a battle of power between Nazi Uranus and Judaic Saturn, with the old Christian Jupiter world choosing which side they would support.